Hi, I'm Alex Archbold. I've been buying and selling antiques since I was a kid. Over the years, generations of our family have gotten involved in the business, and I'll search just about anywhere I can to find hidden treasures both big and small. I never know what I'll turn up next. It's about exploring new places, seeing new sights, and having fun. And even though sometimes I get over my head, we try and make things a little better along the way. This is Curiosity Inc. Hey guys, and welcome to today's episode. It is my last day in Arkansas, and as you can hear, I've got my directions going in the background on my map program. That's because as I was checking out of the hotel this morning, I saw on the maps that there's a Clinton House Museum. Now, I'm Canadian, so American politics don't really matter to me one way or the other. The only reason I'm going to drive by it and look at it is because he's still alive. He's still just some guy, and his old house is turned into a museum. So I thought, well, let's go see what kind of house they lived in, and I guess they lived in the 70s. So we'll see what kind of house a former president lived in back when he was a teacher at Arkansas State University. So we're going to start off the day with that, and then we're going to do some antiquing and go look around. So stay tuned for an episode today as we go on some adventures and see what there is to see. Let's go. So this is my first stop of the day. We've got part of the campus right here. You got the soccer field and the Bulldogs. I guess they're building right there in a parking lot. And right across the parking lot, well, it's the Clintons' old house. And it's just a modest bungalow. Like I think it was built in the 30s. The houses all on this street are just pretty normal houses. And that's where they lived in 1975. But what was funny to me, and the reason I want to drive by, is that he's still alive, and they're still alive and doing stuff. What if you left your lawnmower in the garage when you moved, and then you go back to get it and they've turned it into a museum, and you can't pull your lawnmower out because it's got a plaque next to it? I understand the Abraham Lincoln log cabin was like well after his death, but that's just somebody's house. Yeah. Anyway, let's go look at some antiques and do some other sightseeing around town. My first stop today, well, I guess my second stop, but my first stop at an antique store is at the Tontitown Flea Market and Antique Mall. It is a holiday today, but I can see that the open sign on, so let's go inside and see what they have in store. And it actually is a beautiful, clear blue sky today. You'd have no idea that there was a tornado that went through this area just 24 hours ago. What a difference a day can make. At the very front of the shop, I can already see some things that I kind of like. Some old oil cans and Esso Lube bottles. They've got a big old Coca-Cola machine. That's a tall one. That's like 7 feet tall. It's a big one. I didn't come to this store the other day. In fact, I didn't even see that it was on the list until I looked kind of close to where the airport was and found that they had it. But they've got actually quite a nice selection of things. They say they've been here for 35 years. So there should be good amount of accumulation of more of that uranium glass, lots of it. Pink dogwood, just similar in pattern to uranium. But they definitely have a little bit more in the way of the old signs and advertising. And there's an old 7-Up clock. They had a grapette soda light up clock that was pretty cool. So you just have to kind of find the stores that have the same kind of vision for antiques that you do of what you collect. What is this? It's like a BMW 7 Series, but oh, I guess it's a toy. I thought it looked like it was a lamp or something. Postcards and stamps. Sometimes people buy these just because it's got the stamp on it, but this is first day issue actually. That means that this letter was purchased the first day that stamp was issued, and they mailed it out. First day issue stamps are actually a bit more collectible. These are only 50 cents each. Seems like this is a collection of first day issue stamps, and like there's first day issue of the Apollo moon landing for 50 cents. That's kind of cool. This is kind of neat. That's a set of new old stock Gilbert erector tires if you're building a car. I think, where is it? Was it in Oregon where they've got the Gilbert, where the factory was? I can't recall. Maybe somebody watching at home can remember, but this person's obviously come across a few old toys and collectibles along the way. It's funny, in an antique mall, they just got the big jumbo crayons in there, but I'm sure somebody will buy it. I guess that's the thing about an antique mall or flea market like this. There's some things you weren't thinking of buying, and then when you see them, you go, hey, jumbo crayons. Kids will like that. You pick it up. The Lionel Transformer car. I haven't seen much for standard gauge Lionel cars, which I do have a standard gauge Lionel engine, which I need to get some cars for. So if anybody watching at home has some big old Lionel train cars that you want to sell, you can give me an email at curiosityedmonton@gmail.com. Some tin toys and stuff. Okay. Those are always things I'm kind of looking for. Old toys, old watches, historical stuff. So when I get back home later this week, I'm going to a fella's house, and he's got his own sort of museum he's built at his house that he's dismantling now and selling off. So I might have some neat things come out of there. This is the tool department. Rosie the Riveter print up there. Super unleaded Sky Chief. I wonder if that's an original advertisement. Knock out the Knox. Well, the Texaco was Sky Chief, I think. Down on the floor, you see this? You might see these around. That's actually a hitching post for tying your horse up to. And somebody's painted or plated that one. But it's kind of a neat thing. I actually went by an old house when we were, I think, near Eureka, and somebody had the hitching post out in front of their store still, from when people had horses they had to tie up when they went shopping. Speaking of Texaco, they used to also sell toys at the service stations too. It's a little Texaco tanker. And this person does have some advertising signs and stuff. It's an old taxi sign, 150 bucks. That's a replica. Of course, you can kind of tell. It looks new. It's also only 29. You ever seen one of these before? You would mount this in your kitchen, and that's an apple peeler. So it would have like a little sharp sort of knife right there. You put your apple in, and then it would just peel it as you crank it. That kind of stuff always is interesting to me, and you do find them sometimes at farm sales or usually out in the country. They'll last forever. You can still use it. It's kind of neat. It's a little ship clock, and the ship rocks back and forth like it's going over the waves as it goes. It's not terribly old, but it's kind of a neat little novelty clock. You can always come to an antique store. You get your pots and pans or your instant ancestors. Hang them on the wall. People ask who they are, and you'll say, hey, I have no idea. Well, here's a jar full of costume jewelry and other sort of jewelry. Who knows what's in there. Price 25 bucks, and you get the blue glass ball mason jar as well. Would you guys at home take the risk on buying a jar of jewelry for 25 bucks? Maybe so. Well, this might win for the strangest thing at this antique mall. It's blown glass clown candlestick holders. Those are, let's say, whimsical and not terrifying. Okay, what do you think the going price is for these? I didn't look yet, so I'm gonna guess they're $42.99. What do you guys think? Let's find out. What are they asking for the clown candlestick holders? Oh, hey, look at me, 40 bucks. That's actually impressive. You'll have to take my word for it that I didn't look, but I'm impressed with myself. One thing I'm finding much more of when I'm out this way is there's actual Remington bronzes at these stores, which aren't that easy to find where I am, and they're actually good sellers because we're kind of a Wild West community up in Canada there. But that's 450 US, that's probably about 600 Canadian. I think that thing's probably worth, you know, maybe double that back home, but it weighs a ton. It's got a marble base, it'd be incredibly heavy to move, but that's actually not a bad price at all. Well, that's a cool little shop. And while you're in this area, there's another one right next door too, so we're gonna go pop over and have a look at that. And just next door, you'll find the Country Classic Antique Store. And we'll wander on in and see what they have. Stepping inside, it is a very big location. They've got an awful lot to see. And what's promising is they've got a lot of showcases. That's always where I like to look because that's where the neat stuff is. And I already see they've got the original Barbie right there with her swimsuit, very famous. $450, but that can be a very valuable doll. In fact, that's one of the best Barbies you can get. Her hair's been cut though, I think, but still, they might have some neat stuff in these showcases. So let's have a look around and see what we can find. Did find some case with some old pocket watches. Some are definitely a little earlier than others, and some look like they might be missing hands or need repair. But one that you don't see too often, look, there's a Snow White. Can you guys see that? It's a Snow White watch. That's not something you see too often. Usually it's, you know, like maybe Superman or Mickey Mouse, but they were making the watches for the girls too, and I'm guessing they probably made less of those than they did of some of the other watches. But the prices aren't bad, you know, $40 and such, and if a person took the time to get them fixed up. But you always want to look for the better names. Hamilton's a good name. Waltham is a good name. Actually, that looks like a railway watch. I might ask to see that one. No, it's not. 17 jewels. It's got to be, is it 21 jewels or higher to be railway grade? Well, I'm guessing that's an older display cabinet there. Cigarettes, 57 cents. When was the last time you think a pack of cigarettes was 57 cents? I'm guessing quite a few years ago now. I'm glad I've never smoked. That seems like an expensive habit. What is the cost of a pack of cigarettes now anyway? Wouldn't even know. No, it's not 57 cents. This booth has a lot of old toys and sort of whimsical stuff, and I guess they've got some jewelry and watches and things like that on the wall. But what caught my eye, other than the ET clock, which is cool, was this. It's the Moon Explorer robot. They have it marked down to $49, which is not a bad price. Now, I collect old tin robots. This one is plastic, and it looks like it's old, but it's made in Hong Kong, which means it's probably from the 1970s and not an original from the 50s. It's probably 70s or 80s. So although it's cool and although that's not a bad price, it's not quite as old as the ones I'm looking for. And I only have so much shelf space to throw that stuff on, so I gotta make sure I buy just the right things, but that did catch my attention. Thought this was kind of neat. It looks like this booth is mainly Fiesta ware, which is kind of nice to see it all together like this, all the different colors. Usually you come across, you know, maybe one set or two, and this person's definitely spent a long time trying to find a big collection of Fiesta ware, but looks good all together like that. Have a walk down the aisle here and see what there is to see. Free coffee. Except I don't drink coffee, but hey, it's free. All kinds of little toys and knickknacks. There seems to be a little bit of everything in this mall, and a little bit more on the, well, I want to say fun side of collectibles, but it's not as much in the way of dishes and plates, and the ones they do have are kind of cool, like the Fiesta ware, and I can see some uranium glass up at the front there. I did see some watches in the showcase that I might have to have a better look at. Oh, look. Custom knives and eclectic lamps. Well, I do see a lot of lamps. I've seen this before. See, they take the old soldering torch and they wire it up, and that's kind of cool. See, he's got the flame, little flicker bulb on the end there. Wouldn't put off a whole lot of light, but it looks neat. Yeah, it's a meat grinder, or corn mill. It looked like a meat grinder. corn mill turned into a lamp. Basically a whole bunch of industrial apparatus has been turned into a lamp. Even the toaster. And they've put Edison style bulbs in there. And the little lanterns. I mean, I guess you could put a light bulb on just about anything and it becomes a lamp. But I think the most creative one I've seen in this booth is this, because it actually looks like the flame coming out of the end of the torch. And he's polished it up all nice, so that's kind of interesting. That's different. What do you guys think? Some interesting old applied label bottles. You got Orchard Beverages, 1950s, and it's a peach of a drink. So it's part of Coca-Cola. It still has its cap and everything on in the contents. Wouldn't drink that. You got Paul the Bear Bryant, winningest football coach in collegiate history. Mason's root beer. Definitely haven't seen some of those before. Well, I was, after searching around, able to find a vintage Walton watch. It was only $9. It's an automatic. It's a mid-century sort of style. And from what I can tell, all it needs is a polish and a new crystal. So that was a pretty good score. I was looking for watches the whole time I was out here. Finally found one. Well, that's it for me. I'm headed back home, but before I do, I stopped at Andy's for a frozen custard in Centerton, Arkansas, just outside of Bentonville, and then I'm back home. So guys, thanks very much for watching. Arkansas, thank you. I had a sweet visit, and you know, we made a good time of it. Despite the fact that there was some major storms and all kinds of stuff going on around here, it was a good time. So thank you again for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this series in Arkansas, and we'll see you all soon. Bye for now.